It wasn't without rhyme. It wasn't without a reason. And so the question we should ask ourselves is that why the body? Why did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam analogize the ummah with that of a human body? And certainly we can look at it from the zahir, from the outward appearance of the words that he was used and say, well, it seems clear. It seems clear because just like a body is a single unit, our ummah, it too should be a single unit. So it makes sense. But the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are timeless. We know that everything he said over 1400 years ago is still equally applicable today and until the day of judgment and beyond, because his words are wahi. And so as we progress in society, as we learn and gain more knowledge of the way the world works, sometimes we gain insights, and it further foments this understanding of why the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose were so magnificent and so beautiful. Take the example of the human body. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is making an ishara. And what is this ishara? He's making an indication to what is it about a body that is so unique that it fits perfectly with that of the example of how our ummah should be. For example, if you look at the human body, what does it comprise? At a high level, we can say the human body will have various limbs, hands and feet. And we'll have our various eyes and ears with which we see and hear. And we have various other senses by which we may perceive the world and those around us. And we have various systems within our body, various organs that perform various different functions and roles. And yet, they each have their own respective role, their own respective function. And so that too, like our ummah, what does our ummah comprise? It comprises the people, the believers, and each and every one of us is different. We all have our own circumstances, our own situations, our own experiences. For instance, all of us, mashallah, are here in this masjid today for Jumma. And if we were to ask each other, what did you do this day in order to prepare for Jumma? How did you get here? The story would not be the same. One person might say they woke up and then they had to run some errands and then they got ready and then they came. Some people say they came from work and then the route they took to get here might be different. How they decided whether to do the ghusl of Jummah in the morning after Fajr or just before Salah. Everything will be various and different. Just in this small example, we can see that we take a different path, but we all are here. Alhamdulillah. And so likewise, just like the human body, we have different parts, we have different roles, and we have different functions. To understand this, let's look again at the body. When the body gets sick, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, the entire body has a share in the pain and the lack of sleep and the fever. And I'm sure all of us at some point in our life, and if you haven't, alhamdulillah, inshallah you don't, but we've all had the flu at some point, most of us. And what happens when you get sick with the flu? You have a fever. Not only do you have a fever, you start to feel congested. You have a runny nose. You cough, you might sneeze. And your body might ache. And you might have chills despite the fact that you have a fever. The whole body is feeling sick. And so these are the symptoms of having the flu. But what's really going on in the body? Initially, we get a fever. And why is it that we have a fever? That is our initial immune system's defense upon when we just raising our body temperature a few degrees, what happens? It makes it very difficult for infectious diseases to survive. It makes it harder for them. Though we feel uncomfortable, it's actually a method by which we are combating the disease. And then at that point, within our blood, we have our white blood cells. And those cells are responsible for defeating and eradicating the virus and the infections within our bloodstream. And they need help too. And so they extract proteins from the muscle. And those proteins are then used to help facilitate this role of eradicating the virus. And so by extracting those proteins from the muscle, our muscles begin to ache. So the body starts to feel achy. So now we have our body temperature increased to help make it to help facilitate this virus not surviving. Our body is aching because it's helping support those white blood cells. And then as it's fighting this virus, as it's fighting this disease, what happens? We start producing mucus, and we become congested, we have runny noses, and then we start to cough and we start to sneeze. And why do we do that? It's because we're expelling the mucus is holding the various viral load within it. And we're trying to get it out of our body. We're trying to expel it from our body, get rid of that foreign body that's invading our human body. And so these are all various systems at play going on within our body, various symptoms, but behind these symptoms is a system at play. A role is being performed by a various part of our body, a various system within our body. And these systems, although they seem as if they are working independently, they are all working as a cohesive unit. And the end goal is to preserve and save the body, to heal the body, to make it whole again. And so likewise, our ummah, when our ummah is suffering from a foreign body, whether it be a fitna or a difficulty or some type of tribulation, our whole body should feel this pain, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has indicated. And like I said, we are all different. We all have different responsibilities and roles in our families, in our jobs, in our society. And those different roles are all necessary. Because if the body was capable of defeating a sickness with only one way, with only one system, there would be no need to have all these various systems working at once. Rather, each and every one is equally important to the other because they all work together in this harmony in order to help make someone heal. So similarly, for our ummah to heal from a difficulty, our ummah has to come together in order to work as one unit. We have to provide our own special skills, our own special abilities in order to help respond to any difficulty our ummah may face. And so sometimes people might ask, well, what can I do? What is it that I'm capable of doing? And the question is, that's the moment of introspection. That's the moment we have to dig deep within ourselves and look at ourselves and take account of ourselves and do muhasabah, self-reflection. Because as the body has different functions and our ummah also has different functions, we all have to help. If you look at the analogy again of the body, you can analogize it to human activity. Take, for instance, you have a human body as the ummah, and in it a foreign invader comes in, a fitna comes in in the form of a sickness. So what happens? You have the alarm signal raised by the body temperature going up. So that is akin to those people, when there's a fitna in our ummah, we say, let's make dua for the people. Let's keep positive. Let's call people to make them aware of the situation. Let's call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to assist us. So we raise our hands and we look to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we ask Him to help, to assist, to remove the sickness, to remove this fitna in our ummah, this difficulty in our ummah. And then you have those people who are like the ground troops, like the white blood cells. They're working the path of Allah. They're working to help assist the people. They're working to help. They're like the ground forces, the ground troops. That's like the white blood cells. But they're not doing it alone. They need supporters. They need assistance. And who are those assistants? As I mentioned, it was the proteins and the muscle. So just like the people doing the work of the deen, the people doing the khidmah of the ummah, they need those people behind them to assist them, to help them. And likewise, after the difficulty is taken care of, there's always something there you have to repair and you have to rebuild. So like the respiratory system expelling the mucus by way of coughing and sneezing, it's maintaining the sihat of the body. And so we need those people who can do work to help maintain the ummah by way of not just working in the facilities and the institutes, but also by establishing community, bringing people together, bringing the hearts together. And this is a form of maintenance. So if you look at the body, all these different systems, they actually are similar to those types of functions and roles that we as human beings can fulfill in our society. So you take, for instance, some people say, well, what can I do? What part can I play? And you look at yourself, you look at your strengths, and you look at your weaknesses. And you have to be honest with yourself and have to say, I can do nothing. We can always do something. It's just a matter of what is it that you have to find that specific skill, that maybe that one thing that maybe you have that someone else doesn't, but the ummah needs it. And so what do? You look and say, okay, what is it that I have a desire to help in? What is it I'm able to do? Perhaps someone is very studious and they like to learn about the deen, and perhaps they might learn and partake in the study of ilm so that they may teach it to the people. But perhaps not just in the deen, but also in the dunya, there are various roles. Suppose someone is working as a medical professional, as a doctor or a nurse. Well, their services help because when the ummah is suffering, when the ummah is in pain, when there's people in need and they're sick and they're dying, they need people to help them. And not always everyone is able to afford it. Not everyone is able to get to the medical attention they need. So there's people who can assist. And that's also a khidmah, that's also a maintenance, that's also a service to this ummah to help make it heal, to help make it stronger. And likewise, you have lawyers who do the work of legal work for people who are in trouble. But it doesn't go with just professionals. There's people who do work, like they like to work with their hands, they do work outside. They're equally important, and they're absolutely necessary because they need to help in the maintenance of the various things that this ummah needs. Sometimes some people, they like to take this elitist approach. They say, oh, people who are doctors and lawyers and engineers, they're at one side, and then, oh, you have the laborers on the other side. But this is wrong thinking. This is absolutely incorrect. Do you really think the white blood cells are going to be thought to be by the doctors as the only critical component of fighting off the flu, and that, oh, they don't need the proteins from the muscle, they don't need the body temperature to go up, they don't need the mucus and the congestion in the nasal cavity to expel the viral load. It all can be done by one component. No doctor would say that. So similarly, no one in our ummah should once think at any moment that, oh, just one type of person is sufficient to maintain and growing and helping facilitate the growth and betterment of this ummah. Everyone is equally important. Everyone has their role, as I said. And so we have to look and see, what role do we have? What part can we play so that we can use those strengths, one united body? And as we are one cohesive united body, we become strong, we become tight and together, and we're able to face our calamities and our difficulties together as one unit, just like the unit of the human body. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a tawfiq to think about what is it we can do to assist our ummah to the best of our abilities. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Please fill the spots if it's empty in front of you so that we can have more space for further questions. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله الحمد لله والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى: إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: ترى المؤمنين في تراحمهم وتواديهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد إذا اشتكى عضوا تداعى له سائر جسده بالسهر والحمى. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. الحمد لله الحمد نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة. من يطيع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على جميع الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى المؤمنين والمؤمنات وعلى المسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: أرحم أمتي بأبو بكر وأشد أمر الله في عمر وأصدقهم حياء عثمان وقضاهم علي وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة والحسن والحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة والحمزة أسد الله وأسد رسوله. اللهم اغفر للعباس وولده مغفرة ظاهرة باطنة لا تغادر ذنبا. الله في أصحابي لا تتخذوهم غرضا من بعدي فمن أحبهم فبحبي أحبهم ومن أبغضهم فببغضي أبغضهم وخير أمتي قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So we'll tell you green lines, and though we cannot close the gaps, let's try to do our available best to close the gaps within our heart. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Few quick announcements. Friday night also, we're still in the masjid tonight. It's not going to be online. It will be after Isha, inshallah. So we have a session after inshallah in the masjid. Pizza will be served inshallah. ICCL monthly baking class we are doing for girls 15 and up will be on Sunday at 1 p.m. Inshallah, this month's recipe is chocolate cookies. For you to contact patient explanation letters are available. To obtain your copy, email office at icclmd.org with your full name and your ICCL donation letter will be emailed back to you inshallah. Lastly,
Give it a second. Give it to the second.
Yes, I will.
I'm gonna go outside.
I will be.
so please report to you.